We got King Louie in the motherfucking building.
Hello, America.
Yo, please don't ever do that again on the show.
Peace.
Yo, why did you just blow kisses right now, yo?
Because we are in a palace.
But what that got to do with you blowing kisses?
Because I felt like blowing kisses, and then every time I want to feel like blowing kisses, I also want to comb my eyebrows and my mustache.
Yo, that was wild right there.
Yeah,
yo.
I know it is.
To
really
be honest, that was some wild shit you just
I
did.
know.
The whole shit you did,
That's
from the kissing blowing to the fucking eyebrows moving, was wild, B.
That's right.
Mad Max was the turnout of my lifestyle. Smoking green, blowing white clouds to build the blue skies. Conversating with the gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Walk through the sands of times like Gara. On the other side of that gate is karma. You wet Prada, the devil's like inside your box now.
Ready.
But the angels fly over my headstone.
We are back with another episode of the God's Hour podcast with your boy Big Serbs, back in the motherfucking place to be, La Merca Superior, Palace 81. But today, we are not in Palace 81. As a matter of fact, we are in another palace, somewhere in parts unknown, somewhere live in an undisclosed location. And today, I have a very special guest. We got King Louie in the motherfucking building.
Hello, America.
Yo, please don't ever do that again on the show.
Peace.
Yo, why did you just blow kisses right now, yo?
Because we are in a palace.
But what that got to do with you blowing kisses?
Because I felt like blowing kisses, and then every time I want to feel like blowing kisses, I also want to comb my eyebrows and my mustache.
Yo, that was wild right there.
Yeah,
yo.
I know it is.
To
really
be
wild.
honest, that was some wild shit you
I
just did. The
know.
whole shit you did,
That's
from the kissing blowing to the fucking eyebrows moving, was wild, B.
That's right.
That was super. That was super something else. But so we're in vacation, and before we even get into the nitty gritty of everything, you know what I mean. This is the God's Hour podcast, número 64. Yes, this is number 64.
64.
64 episodes. We're already here, Pop. It's been like almost a year since I started the podcast.
A year?
Yeah, it's been a year.
When is a year?
November 3rd.
November 3rd
was when I dropped my first podcast, but I started recording the first couple of episodes like somewhere around the middle of October. Like middle of October. Yeah.
Middle October, okay.
So it's like already a year, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we're at the end of October now.
Yeah.
So it's a year.
Trick or treat.
No? Almost.
Feliz Dia de los Muertos.
That too.
And it's funny that we bring that up because, Dia de los Muertos is something that, and I feel like people don't really understand. People don't really get the premise or the nature of Dia de los Muertos. So for the audience, real quick, can you give just a brief synopsis of what Dia de los Muertos is?
Well, in a nutshell, Dia de los Muertos is just a day when people celebrate their ancestors, meaning family members who have passed away, who have come before them and passed away. And the way you celebrate their life is during their lifetime, whatever they like to do, especially food and drink, you honor them by building a shrine with their pictures, their favorite foods, and their favorite drink. Not necessarily meaning, it could be like party, like beer and tequila, but it could be like their favorite, pineapple juice, if they like pineapple juice, or
cheesecake, something like that.
Cheesecake or a nice hot coffee. But their favorite food could be mole and a beer, or it could be like green enchiladas and a Pepsi. So you decorate their altar with their pictures, their favorite food, their favorite drink, and things they like to like, maybe their favorite T-shirt or their favorite little hobbies. They could been fishermen, so like some hooks or pictures of fish or pictures of them fishing. So that's how you honor your ancestors who have gone before you, is by celebrating their life and the things they liked and enjoyed while they were living. And you keep that tradition going. Every year you celebrate your deceased family members.
Which I feel like we should do at least like pretty often, because like that's kind of what like I've been getting more into, is just celebrating my ancestors and always praying for them, and like just asking them to like help guide me through life, and just kind of like creating this bond and like this energy with like my grandpa, both of my grandpas, my homies, and just pretty much everyone, Jaime, you know what I mean? I feel like we should do that more often. I guess Dia de los Muertos is kind of like the celebration of it, but I really, in my opinion, I feel like we should do that more, at least like on a weekly basis.
Well, yeah, on a weekly basis. You could do that on a daily basis just by...
Oh, well, I mean, the
having
offerings and all that shit.
Always having them, never forgetting about them, always having them in your heart and thinking about them, daily, weekly, or however often it may be. But this Dia de los Muertos is one day a year where it's all about your family members that have gone before you and celebrating their life.
Yeah, I think it's really dope when we could like, because all this other shit that's celebrated is all bullshit to me. Like, I feel like people really just give stupid values to things that don't mean anything. Like the whole, like we herald artists and like materialistic things that don't mean shit. Like we value, sneakers, or like just because this dude, or like even like with the whole like sports things, like people have like whole altars, or like whole, not even altars, but like whole rooms dedicated to like a specific teams. They have all the clothes, the scarves, the socks, the stickers, the just everything, you know what I mean? And it don't mean nothing. It's just kind of like all fanatical bullshit.
Somebody at home could be a like super big time Dallas Cowboy fan, or
we know who that is,
or a Raider fan, and they might have their whole house decorated in
blue and gray and silver,
and their team's colors, or just banners and jerseys. And they might have all the clothes, starting with their socks all the way up down to their hat,
football sign,
and everything in between with their football logo, their team logo. But then again, I mean, it means everything to them, but at the same time, it means nothing, because, I mean, what value is that, or what purpose does it suit you, really, deep down? I mean, do the Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys, or Cleveland Browns, or the Miami Dolphins, do those teams really care about you? Yeah, as a consumer, but that's it. That's all.
That's funny, because there's that that scene in the Bronx Tale, where when Calogero, he's a kid, and he goes into Sonny's bar, and he's like complaining like about another player, because he loves Mickey Mantle, the kid, and he's like, somebody, this player did this to him. He's like, I hated them, and Sonny just laughs. He's like, man, you're a Mickey Mantle fan or something like that. And I forgot what he says, but he says something like, well, see if your dad can't pay the rent, then go ask Mickey Mantle or something like that. Like, he's like, when your dad can't pay the rent, go ask Mickey Mantle for a favor or something like that, which is like, you know.
Yeah, which means there's nothing that person or that team could do for you. Nothing at all. It's all on you or your family if you need help, really.
I just thought that was crazy that like how like that connected with the whole, because Dia de los Muertos is like, it's such a like a fucking taboo concept in my opinion now, because you know, as Halloween goes, it's really cool to dress up like a fucking pirate or a fairy or put up decorations of skeletons and shit. But when people like, this is really like the real shit, like the real faith, like, oh, like that's Satanism or that's fucking, you know what I mean? Like that's devil worshipping. But you're over here putting skeletons in your front yard. Don't burp it in the mic. You're over here putting skeletons and cobwebs and spiders and shit. But yeah, you look down on other people for what they believe in and stuff. Like, you know what I mean?
Just listen to me, okay? Anytime internal noises, bodily internal noises.
Whoa, you're right into the mic. You can
just be free. You let them free.
Because I'm trying to talk about some real shit.
It doesn't matter what orifice they may come out of. Okay, just let them free. Thank you.
Don't say orifice ever again like that, please.
Orifices, plural.
But you get what I'm saying though. Like, it's kind of like pretty silly to me. Like the things we value and the things we kind of look down upon, but yet when you really look at what society values versus like what like the like a lot of what people value versus like these people versus value what like these people, it's all really like double standard type shit. You get what I mean?
Well, values are all relative to belief systems and culture and the cultural norm from different groups. So what may be normal or acceptable in your group is not in mine. So, you know, there lies the differences, and it could be little trivial, minute differences to humongous differences where people just maybe, because of their differences, maybe despise each other or don't trust each other or just won't even try to, speak to each other. So it runs pretty deep.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. And just kind of like on the subject of Dia de los Muertos, I feel like we're missing some of that in our culture. You know, there's a lot of the raza that doesn't speak Spanish. They're not carrying on the traditions. A lot of it is dying out here. And I guess it's a part of progressive evolution or whatever you want to call it. But I feel like the more we get away from our culture, the more like we become some other shit that's like, I don't know. I feel like we should just stick to our like cultural roots is basically what I'm saying. As far as even like seeing the play or show that we saw yesterday in Escaret, I thought it was really dope. You know, it really puts it in perspective. Like before Catholicisms and all that, like we had our own gods that we would worship, and now it's all convoluted in this Catholicism, you know.
And what show is that?
I forgot what it was. I honestly don't even know the name of it.
Well, the show in Escaret, it's called Mexico.
There it is.
And what it is, it's the history of the original indigenous people from Mexico, and how they evolved into the modern Mexicanos of today. But with that is, it starts out with the indigenous Mayas or Aztecs or Olmecas or Nahuatls, the Toltecs, the different groups. But then the evolution as far as when the Spaniards came over and just basically raped the women, gave everybody diseases, and then stole all the precious
Gold.
Metals and, everything of value, and, the evolution from there, But it started, you're right, as the indigenous people with their own, worshiping their own gods and having their own way of life and their own traditions, and having greatly influenced by foreigners, meaning Spain, and then from there having to conform to the religion, conform to their values, conform to their beliefs, and then there lies the transition into Catholicism or any other religion, which wasn't the original religion of the indigenous with their different gods, praying for, fertile land, for rain, for, basically it was all basic prayer for the sun, for the rain, for their crops to be successful, so they wouldn't, starve to death. It was basically prayers for survival is what it was, to the different gods that they believed in.
Another thing that I feel like nobody really puts together is that when we went to Chichen Itza, the tour guy was saying that they used their knowledge of the eclipses and the moons and all that to put the people like in check, to rule the people. You remember he said that, right? You remember he said that they used their knowledge and of the stars and all that to kind of like keep the people under control.
Well, the regular people were not educated, especially in those days, in the Mayan days and the different tribes. So mainly there was, probably, I want to say maybe 90% people were not, schooled, so they were basically ignorant and kept ignorant by the 10% that had knowledge and shared their knowledge only amongst each other, which would be the ruling families,
The royal family.
The royal families, the ruling families. And one method which was very, very, effective was twice a year they would gather everybody in their huge, plaza areas or the courtyards where their pyramids was at in Chichen Itza. And they prayed to their god, which is Kukulkan. And while they were praying to Kukulkan, they knew exactly what day and what time the summer solstice was going to come, or the winter solstice. And those are the 2 days of the year that the sun, aligns perfectly with those pyramids. And as the summer solstice and winter solstice starts progressing through the day, on that day, the shadow, you could see literally the light and shadow of the serpent that goes from top to bottom in the pyramid light up, and that would keep all the ignorant, uneducated Mayans on check, basically, because they believed this would be kind of like, this was like a magic, or this would be kind of like, if we don't do what the king or the royal say, they're gonna kill us, or even worse yet, the gods will be upset at them. So that's very effective, very, very intelligent.
And while I was learning all of this, it's no different from when the Spaniards came, and they came with all their Catholic faith, and they basically did the same thing. Well, because they felt that in Catholicism, it's like a lot of it is like they threaten people with like damnation and you're going to hell if you don't do this shit. Or I'm not saying it's a common belief or it's a widely, but it's just that's how, you know what I mean? Like, if you do certain things, like God doesn't love you, or like God will only love you if you do this and this, this and this. Like in the Bible, it's this abomination for a man to love another man. Like certain things like that. You get what I mean?
Well, yeah, in the Bible, it's against it. Actually, there's Bible verses that it's not with a man, with another man. No, it's a man with a woman, and it states that way in the Bible. So this is only, scripture. That's all.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, we don't really know what God really said because, like, God isn't a physical being. Like, God, if anything, has always been like a spiritual kind of entity that everyone kind of connects with, but no one really knows for sure because we haven't seen him in the physical. We've never seen nothing like that. But, like, that's why I'm not really too big on the Bible, because all of it was written by a dude that got the most of it from another Bible that was written by a dude that got it from another Bible, and it was based on another. You know what I mean? Like
what it is just it's the omnipresent higher being, meaning God, because God, in different parts of the world, people know God through different names. They name God differently, but it's the one only God. And what it is that he's the omnipresent higher power, which is all being, all knowing. And you're right, God didn't write the Bible, but God utilized people,
the followers,
to write his message to his people. And these were people in different towns, different parts of the world, and they're all writing the similar Bible verses, and it all comes together. That's how the Bible comes together, by accounts of different people living in different towns in different parts of the world, and it all gets put together that way.
Yeah, I just think it was really, really interesting that the ways of faith and the ways that it kind of puts people in this sort of, like, I don't want to say it's like enslavement, but it's more so like a code that you live by, a faith or a moral belief system through this kind of faith, knowing that, do unto others as you would yourself, or respect somebody as you would want to be respected. Like, things of that nature, I think, are really good for society. I'm not saying that, the Bible is whack or anything like that. I'm just saying how it's very interesting how these faiths come about, and how, like, the Spanish pretty much went to, like, almost damn near every part of the world, at least in the Western Hemisphere. They went to, I don't think they went up to Canada, because that was where the British were, but for sure America, Mexico, Central America, the Caribbean, South America. That's why everybody over there speaks Spanish, and with that they took all of their belief.
But for the first thing they did is took all their robbed them and stole all their precious, minerals and gold and silver, and they cashed in. But they cashed in and then left their religion behind to keep everybody on, to conform to the Spanish religion and the Spanish way of life.
I think that's really interesting, like how we're, as a society, as a human race, conquering is kind of like the way we've done a lot of things. You have Alexander the Great, you have Hannibal, you got Genghis Khan, you have the Spanish, you got the Portuguese, you got the British, and and they're all on a mission to take whatever because of whatever under the guise of it's better. That we're actually doing you a favor because you guys are savages,
and to expand their empire.
And expand their empire because they feel like their way of life is the way.
And the expansion of their empire was through colonization, yes.
Isn't that crazy?
But it was reality for hundreds of years, and thank God it's not that way present day because, people's belief, values, and thoughts and beliefs change, and that wouldn't fly in today's world. Being colonized would not fly. Everyone wants their own, freedom, their own identity,
sovereignty,
their own sovereignty, and even if it's a small nation, small nations will stand up to humongous nations which are 50 times bigger than them, but they won't basically let themselves be taken over or conquered by a bigger country or nation or sovereignty, but that's basically today's society, today's belief systems. It was back then, ignorance is what basically made it easy for these empires become bigger and wealthier empires because of the ignorance of the people that they conquered and continued conquering for years and generations. And it's just, sad but true.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, though, still goes on today. It might not be a government, it might not be a nation, but, Coca-Cola is taking all the fucking clean water out of Mexico, making their stupid drink and selling it back to the people that they just use all the clean water from. And now the motherfuckers are getting diabetes.
Yeah. Well, what you're doing is you're talking about that example is a small town in Chiapas, Mexico. And I believe the name of the little town is called San Cristobal de Casas. And in this town is the diabetes and people with diabetes that are dying from diabetes.
But it's just not in this one area. Like, this is a big thing in Mexico, right? Like, in general?
Mexico in general, but in this particular town is instead of people, drinking water or buying water, they just drink the Coke and don't drink water. So they're already prone to diabetes, and then they drink Coke all their life, and basically everyone passes away from diabetes at a young age.
They said that the average Mexican, I don't know if this was in Mexico, I would assume, but they said the average person is drinking 2 liters of Coca-Cola every day.
Yeah. That or more. That's true.
That is really insane shit when I think about it, because I feel like a lot of us have that problem where we don't understand the full magnitude of our actions, and we just do whatever, we live however, no matter the consequences. There's people that are diabetic right now that don't give one fuck about what they eat, what they drink, what they put in their body, what kind of exercise they do. And it's kind of shocking because, we're like not even caring about ourselves at this point. Like we were talking about, we had this discussion about the whole pandemic in the morning, about how people, when they get sick, they don't give a fuck. Like people just went to Vegas when they got the COVID because they don't care. Like some people, a lot of people are selfish. They don't give a fuck. They'll get people sick because they're not thinking, oh, well, that's, I'm going to get other people sick. They're like, oh, well, fuck it. If I'm sick, then who cares? I'm already sick. What else is going to happen?
Yeah, the example I brought up was that when during the pandemic, people actually were sick from COVID or were exposed to people that were sick from the COVID. And instead of quarantine, like, they're supposed to, meaning taking care of themselves in quarantine or taking care of themselves because they have the COVID, just because they were told to quarantine for 10 days, they spent, most of their days in Las Vegas casinos, gambling, sick. So it was a huge, problem during the pandemic because, Vegas was filled with people that were supposed to be quarantined because they were sick, and they were gambling in Vegas. Makes no sense, but that's reality.
I think it's super silly because I think it's silly, but at the same time, what are you gonna do? People are gonna live the way they live, and if we don't change our habits, it's just gonna keep going. It's just like it's you're diabetic, you have a kid, you don't care about it, you pass away. They grow up, they get diabetes, they have a kid, they don't care, they pass away, and it just kind of.
Oh yeah, it's the diabetic vicious cycle, but it just comes to freedom of choice. People that know they have diabetes or any other,
illness,
disease or illness, you basically, for every action, or inaction, there's a consequence. So that's basically freedom of choice.
I think that's super crazy. We should move. I want to move on to something else.
Go ahead. Let's move on to something else.
So, because I want to get into some funny shit. So, like, growing up in the raza, the culture, as a Chicano, like, what were some of, like, the fun things you remember doing as a kid?
As a kid?
Yeah, as a kid, you know what I mean? Like, just, like, funny shit, like if grandpa would fart and then he would say shit like no me fui, things like that.
No, well, like, I don't know where this is coming from, but
I honestly kind of like blanked out, so I'm just kind of freestyling it.
Well, as far as my dad, he was basically notorious for you said farting. He was notorious for what I call doing an SBD. And he would do that when we were inside the car with all the windows up, and he would let one go, and he would do a silent but deadly. And he would just go ahead and fart. You couldn't hear it, but boy, did it stink up the car, man. And then he would deny it, say it wasn't him. So there you go.
That's funny. Yeah, I barely have because when my grandpa passed away, I was 10 years old, so there's very, very few memories that like I really remember. But I just remember him being like really fun and be around, like he was a really cool. You okay? You're yawning? It's so funny because you're like yawning, but you're trying to... like you're over here like...
trying to cover it up.
Yeah. It's all right. Just yawn if you got to. Just yawn because that was kind of weird. I'm not going to lie.
That's okay.
It looked like you were going to cry or something like that. I was like, oh, okay.
It's all right. It's all, for an effect. There you go.
I thought I hit your G-bone or something. I'm like, oh, okay. We got to move on to something else.
No.
Yeah. I just think... we have an awesome culture that a lot of people try to pigeonhole us into like being like we're fucking just like drunk marihuanos, or that's kind of a few of us, more than a few maybe, but I feel like we have like such a rich culture that I feel like is missed and misinterpreted sometimes. But is there like any like representations of Chicanos that you feel like are like really cool, like maybe like Stand and Deliver.
Chicanos that are really cool. Well, I mean, it's just basically, Mexican American people. They don't have to be famous. They don't have to be rich. They don't have to be like well known or well liked. It could be just somebody, a regular person that happens to be Mexican American, or not necessarily Mexican American, but somebody that basically is doing, a good job or a good deed or good things for others, or thinks about others before themselves. And, that person that could be anonymous, it does always puts others before himself, herself. I'm not going to give praise and portray certain Mexican Americans or Chicanos or.
Well, I meant more so like kind of like, there's movies like Coco and Book of Life, because, in like, you got dumb shit like Speedy Gonzalez, his cousin Slowpoke Rodriguez, he was kind of like a marihuano, shit like that. Of course, there's people out there, that embody whatever, but I mean, just so, Are you with me? Doesn't look like you're with me.
So, and?
Okay. All right. I'm going to move on to something else.
Yeah.
Okay. So, my dad is funny. Now he blanked me off. I feel
That's
like
right.
I had some other shit in mind that I was gonna talk about. This is where like I have to like take a podcast time to think about what to say, because I like ran out of talking points.
You did?
Kind of.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, what are you trying to say over there?
Yeah. You never run out of talking points.
I don't. Not really, but I just feel like I want to take this time to just really talk about, our culture, because there's a stark difference between Mexican culture and Chicano culture. It's like two different worlds.
Well, it's two different worlds because, if your ancestors come from Mexico, but you were born in anywhere in the United States, is now, it's, your culture, your lifestyle is basically, even in your mindset is different from, people that were actually born here in Mexico. Because people born here in Mexico, they they're more prone to be more, I don't know, Mexican. I don't know if that's but are they more Mexican? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if they're more Mexican, I don't know. But the thing is now, as a Mexican American, you're basically, you instead of having one country, you're basically,
you have like two identities.
You have two countries. You're basically, you're from two countries, and you have a blend of both, both countries.
I love that George Lopez joke where he's like said something along the lines of like, you gotta be proud of where you're from. And he was talking about my grandparents are from Mexico, but my ancestors are from Spain. And he's like you're from La Habra, puto. Like, what the fuck? That shit was funny. I'm totally butchering the joke, but like, I just love George Lopez. I had to shout him out one time. Shout out to George Lopez, man. He's fucking awesome.
Okay.
Don't do that like that into the mic, all right? You
Okay.
Okay. You fucking with your okays over here. You didn't really cross 3 lines right there.
What did George Lopez ever do for you?
Oh, fuck. Here we go.
He bought you a freaking ice cream cone or something, or what?
He probably bought more years on my life by the amount of times I laughed at his shit, to be honest.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, George Lopez.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Don't think nothing, all right?
Okay.
Don't be over here trying to like fucking be cute with me. You trying to be cute with me?
No, I'm just,
You're being a little cheeky, man. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I'm just, here living life.
I can see that.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So before we end it off, what do you wanna talk about?
Well, we got to end the show because we got to end the show.
Because we gotta end the show?
Like right now.
Why? What the fuck was that?
Mom's at the door.
Mom's at the door?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Because it is.
What?
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Gotta go.
What the fuck? This was such an abrupt end to the podcast. All right. Well, my mom is knocking at the door. This is a very, very funny end to the show, but this is the God's Hour. What's going on? Why'd you interrupt the show? Why'd you did that?
Smack was the turnout of my lifestyle. Smoking green, blowing white clouds to build the blue skies. Conversating with the gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Walk through the sands of times like Gara. On the other side of that gad is karma. You wet Prada, the devil like inside your box now.
While the angels fly over my headstone.